Welcome to all the classic car enthusiasts. Okay, we're still working a bit on the garden, but I've done a little bit of work on the Mini. I'm just starting to do the braking system on it. Hopefully by Wednesday or Thursday we'll start having some of the parts coming from the UK. I hope so. I did ask for some of them express, but it doesn't always come very express. A quick couple of shout outs tonight. The first one is for the DJSE, which is Alex Hart. Alex has done a lot of work with his welding. He's been practicing and practicing, and I think you'll see some big differences in on what he's doing now. I think he's going to be putting a video up fairly soon. I hope he is anyway. And we've talked a lot on the WhatsApp and with a bunch of the other guys as well. And hopefully he'll show us the results of his practice on this front end that he's doing. The other quick one I want to give a shout out to is Smugwood Mini. He's just put a video up now of the car that he, on the last video he was sending it away to the blasters, and it's now come back primed, cleaned, blasted and primed, and it's ready for him to start putting panels in. I think he's going to have the panels done, but well worth a look in. So Smugwood Mini and the DJSE Alex Hart. Okay, so I got quite a rude awakening this morning at 7 o'clock. A Frenchman turned up with a Luton van and to pick up my chassis, and I got the chassis number off it here because obviously I need it for my new chassis. And yeah, he came along with the cash, and we loaded it, and he took it away back to, I think, Carnac, I think it is, somewhere in France. So that's good, because that adds a little bit of funds towards the extra parts I have to buy for this red Mini. Unfortunately, it needs a new crank and new shells, it needs a bore, it needs oversized pistons and rings, and so yeah, it's a nice little added, a bit of extra money to go to that, because it was something that I didn't need. I have a brand new chassis, and I've been just looking today. I was very lucky when I bought the chassis for my XK. It was £2,200 I paid for it. And I was looking at SC Parts today, which I have to say is one of the most expensive parts companies there is, SC Parts. Terrible price. The prices they have are sky high compared to S&G Barrett and Leaping Cats and people like that, or Martin Roby, for Jaguars anyway. And they're asking $5,700 for an XK chassis, including the VAT, of course. So that's 20% off that. I thought they were up to about 3,000, 3,500, so €650 for a dipped XK150 chassis, which is not bent or anything, dipped in acid and galvanised. It's quite a good deal, I think. So hopefully he's happy with it. Anyway, so I hope you enjoy the video. We'll be doing a lot more on the braking system. I'll be showing the front subframe, all the braking system on that, putting in the flexi lines. They're coming as braided ones. I want braided ones on it, and we'll show you what we're doing before we move the Mini at the weekend, because I need to put my E-type up on the ramp and get it serviced, get it ready for the summertime, for the summer runs. So I hope you enjoy the video. Be good to each other. Bye for now.
As you can see, the chassis was sat there. The guy came from France, from Carnac, I think it was, in France. 7 o'clock this morning he turned up. Anyway, we've got the number off the chassis, and that's gone. A few quid up on the deal. You can see here we're getting all the new earth in, so basically all that you can see that's wet from that line there is all seeded all the way down, and then tomorrow do this piece around there, seed it all. Hear that barking? That's the deer talking to each other up the hills.
Yeah, this is a little cutter that I have. It's not a particularly good one. There are better ones. The better ones come with a triangular blade on them. So what you can do is clean out the conifer afterwards to make sure it is clean and there's no dross or anything inside it. So this is just a real basic cutter, but it does the job, and it's. What I like about it is it's nice and small, and if you're trying to get into an area where it's tight to get in, and all you have to do basically is just turn it, as I said, and it's nice and easy to use. So if you want to cut a piece of pipe that's in situ, it's very easy to do. Some of the bigger ones it's not so easy to do. It takes a bit longer with this one. Okay, now you can see. You can see there's the end I've just cut off. And as I said, what can happen is if you try to cut them too quickly, you can flare this over a little bit, and obviously that's a problem then with the hydraulics of the brakes. So like I said, you just pop this in, put your top one in. It's a very nice little tool, this, I have to say. So I'll put the union on so you can actually see it. Obviously you put the union on first. There we go. You can see it's flat. Hold it down nice and tight. Put your op one in it. And that's it, that's all you need. You can open it up. And there you go, there's the union. Yeah, and this is obviously for something like that, which has got the dimple in the end of it, or a three-way, because what you want is a perfect fit on that bowl and the internal part of that. So it's a pressure fit, almost like a compression fit. And that's basically how the tool works. And then as I said, if you want to do the female one, you do that one operation, op one, and you leave it where it is and do op two, and that will bowl it in so it's actually concave instead of convex. So that's basically all there is to that tool. I'll take you now onto the next bit. So, okay, so this is how you're normally getting your pipe. You're normally getting the pipe in a roll like this. And obviously you can take this pipe and you can pull it out by hand, open it up, and so on and so forth. But you can imagine there's as long as you're reasonably careful with it, you can kind of open it up. But what you don't want to be doing is pulling it fast and bending it and putting kinks in it. So this is where a tool like this comes in. This is, I was showing this before. This is the Quicks UK. Well, that's going to show up. But this is for a 3/16 pipe. So basically you just force that. I'll show you now. You just force your pipe into there. Sometimes you have to give it a bit of a helping hand. There we go. So this was all rounded, as you can see. Excuse me. And I can just force the pipe through there, and you can see it's coming out absolutely straight. I think you can see that it's pretty straight. So when you're putting it on the car, it looks really nice, and instead of having, you know, this kind of deal, there's the odd bend in it like this, and you're trying to straighten it out, this is the usual situation. You know, you put this on, and it just looks so professional. You can see how bad that's bent now, I think. So I'll just pop this on. You can see it's perfectly straight. So, very good bit of kit, not cheap, but I do a lot of brake work, so it's worth it for me to have something like that. A lot of these things, I think I've said this many times before, but if you're in a situation like with Dobby, Mini Dobby, where there's 4 or 5 guys working together in a workshop, then the best way to do this is buy, you know, something each, or all put money in and buy this stuff, because it's not something you're going to use all the time. It's something that comes in extremely handy. You know, and if everybody puts a few quid in each, you know, you've got a tool. You can get another one. There's another style one for quarter, 3/16, fuel line, whatever you want to use. And it's Quicks UK is the name of the company, and it's just rollers, as you can see. It's pretty basic, but it works extremely well.
So I'm going to take you on to the car now.
So hopefully, as you can see from here, from this one, I've got braided lines coming for the front and the back, and I'm just fitting in this T-piece. On the older version there was what they called a PDWA, which is a pressure warning device. Now you've got a balancer on the front, so you don't need it, but on the earlier models you had this valve, and basically what it wasn't a valve so much, it was a ball bearing in there, and as there was more weight in the back, the ball bearing would run down, a little bit like a seatbelt mechanism. That there on the very old Minis, the Mark 1s, 2s, if somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, maybe Mark Piper, he's very knowledgeable on the older cars, but I think it was known as a PDWA. And as I say, it had a ball bearing in it, and I can remember in the old days when you tried to put these on a test, MOT test, and you couldn't get good back brakes, you could actually get somebody to sit in the back or push down on the back of the car, and it would work better because the ball would go forward. So now this is a system I've done on my other Mini, on my beige Mini. This is my preferred way of doing it, but it's entirely up to you. Some people may say, well, putting another connection in it is another connection that could leak, but you know, you've got connections in it anyway, so you know, I don't see any issue. One of the biggest problems is if you're in a situation where you've got the subframe in the car like this, it's easy for us to drop this down, make up the rear brake line, put it over the top, and then put the off of the subframe over it. But if you can't do that, if your subframe is already in place, then it's very difficult to do it. And what I always believe with these Minis, and I've seen it so many times over the years, is where the bends are, is where they're stressed a little bit, is where you're going to get an issue. So what I do is I make a connection here. This is too long, obviously, but I make a connection here and then come from the one to the back and put a double joint in it. Because then what I can do then is move, if you imagine it's here, the connection, then I can move that connection like that, and it's actually set up behind the subframe. Yeah. So you can see I've got it, my finger right up the back, and then there it is down there. And that way you can make the connection up much easier. And it's easier to pull it down and replace it, because this is where it's going to corrode, especially where it's sitting on the top of this subframe. Again, this is only my preference. I'm not telling anybody you should do it that way. Some people prefer to have one complete line, which is probably the best way to do it. But if you can't get your subframe out, this is a way of doing it. And as I say, we could easily make the line up, and a lot of people put a coil in this. So what they'll do is they'll bring it out and they'll put a coil in it, which is absolutely unnecessary. The old ones were like that, but it's unnecessary because this body, this shell and this subframe are one piece now. You've got 8 bolts holding it, and this is not going up and down from that, so it's not going to damage it. It'll obviously be lower. When I push it down, you can see there, obviously like that, it's sitting on it, and there could be some vibration or wear, but when it's sat at an angle, it sits fine. So I'll make this one up now, work out exactly where I need to put the union to make it up, and then all I have to do then is, when I bring the line in through the back, is just rotate that about 30 degrees, and then I've got my connection on. So I hope that helps. So you can see this is a style of SU pump. It is actually an SU. It's a German make, but almost the same. And you can see I've actually moved these inlet and outlet round a little bit. It's only a matter of undoing these 2 screws so you can move these into the right direction. It's not perfect yet, but it's getting there. And we made a 3mm plate for it to sit on. So you can actually put these on rubbers if you want as well, to stop any ticking noise or any vibration. And all the other thing I did as well was I've put the positive and negative for the pump. I've pushed it up the way so that the cable can come in down through the boot and across the top instead of sitting underneath. Very easily done. It's only an 8mm bolt that's on it. So as I say, we've made this up. Easy enough to do, and maybe you can also see that now the suspension is actually adjusted as well, a little high at the moment, and we can't really adjust this fully until the engine's in and the battery's in and fuel tank and all that kind of stuff.
but you can see how much this is out already. And I'll show you a view from the side. The DJSC, which is Alex Hart, has been kind enough to go to Huddersfield Mini Spares to get me the complete strip. So we're going to actually go on this black edging, going to go down all the way around and onto the front, like Tom Sherrock's got it, which is really nice. It looks nice, and we won't go for the chrome now. And I just hope that the guy who's having it is happy with that. I think what I also do is do that in black as well. Excuse me. I'll do that in black just to finish it up, and yeah, and then we're going to cut and polish it. Once it's all finished, we just need the rubber for the back window, and basically everything will be done apart from the engine, because I'm waiting for this new crank to come. So as usual, I will show you the rest of the braking system. I'll show you the braking system I'm going to build for the front subframe, and how I bend it. And basically, like I said before, I've got this style of tool. The other tools, like I said, is the straightener that I use, Quick Fit, UK Quicks. Let me just check that. Quicks UK. That's 3/16 this one, but you can get quarters at any size you want. And the other tool I use, excuse me, I'll have to take this light up. The other tool I use is this one. Let me take this look. So just like that. The other tool I use is this, which is basically a pipe bender. So when you've got a piece of pipe and you want to bend it, you can use the angle on it there. So you can actually just put it against the side there, lift this up. Let me just show you. So you put your piece of pipe in there into the right size hole. You can then bring this down and put a perfect 90-degree bend in it, or whatever bend you want. You can see there it's a 90-degree. So if you try to do this with your fingers, you can do it, but there's a chance you could crimp the pipe, and you want to be very careful of that. The other thing with conifer as well is, and I'm sure hopefully the other guys will agree, their experience with brake lines, is try not to manipulate the pipe too many times. Manipulate it once and leave it at that. The more you manipulate it backwards and forwards to get the shape right, the more chance you've got of fracturing the pipe. So, you know, work out what you need and then pop it in. You can always put a bit more in, but pulling it back and forward and backwards and forwards, obviously it's like anything, it's going to fatigue eventually. So that's it for tonight. We've still got some bits to do in the garden. Hopefully we'll have this vehicle moved by Friday. My Mini, we're going to wash them both, wash the E-Type, and then I'll put the E-Type onto the ramp, because we want to service it. I've got the battery, which is an old style. It's a new battery, it's a gel battery, but it looks, it's retro, it looks like it's an old style one from the 60s. But it's gel filled, it's modern technology, but looks old, just to go with the vehicle, you know, not for shows, but just make it look nice. So, you know, stay safe, keep the faith, enjoy your hobby.